Hello, welcome to today's The Art of Possible with Generative AI. And today we will be showcasing how you can work smarter with Copilot inside the Microsoft Excel application. My name is 𝗧𝗵𝗲 and I'm the instructor for this webinar today. And I have with me my colleague Suraj, who will be taking your questions in the Q&A section, or in the Q&A box rather. Here's our agenda for today in this webinar. Firstly, we will look at what Copilot is exactly and how it lives inside your Microsoft 365 applications. Next, we'll look at the Copilot prompting principles that has been provided by Microsoft Copilot to help guide the prompts that users input into the Microsoft Copilot's chat. And secondly, we'll look at an overview of Copilot in Excel, how you can immediately activate it and get it to start working for you inside your Microsoft Excel application. Next, we'll look at the Microsoft Copilot security architecture, and would also look at the green shield that helps you to know that your data is secured when you're using the enterprise version of the Microsoft Copilot. And we'll move on to look at our the current limitations and responsible use of generative AI tools. And we'll move straight into our demo session. Then we go into our key takeaways. And then lastly, the question and answer session. Just before we get started, here's a quick disclaimer. So our opinions that I express today are strictly those of the illustrator and do not represent the views or opinions of our funders. Also, all the trademarks and logos that are used in this webinar represent the properties of the respective owners. Now let's get started immediately. What exactly is Microsoft Copilot? So you're already familiar with the ChatGPTs and the Claude and Gemini. So Microsoft Copilot is Microsoft's own chat assistant within its range of applications. So you can either find it inside your Microsoft Word, Excel, Outlook, and the likes, and it can also stand as a standalone chat that you can use just like the way you would use ChatGPT and other generative AI tools. And the Microsoft Copilot has the ability to read through your SharePoint, has the ability to scan through all your shared Microsoft applications to be able to provide informed response to you based on a certain use case that you're working on. And it can help you to generate new content. It can help you to summarize existing content, and it can also help you to analyze or think through problems. For Microsoft Copilots, here are the core prompting principles that they have outlined to help users get informed output from their chat assistant. Just if you go to other generative AI tool providers, they all have their advised prompting principles that they want. Am I still echoing? I can, okay. Suraj, is it okay now? Is the sound okay now?
I'm fine with the sound. I just want to hear from the participants. They are saying like there is no echo for them, so you can continue, Josh.
Okay, I can continue now, right?
Yes, Josh, please go ahead. Thanks.
All right. Yeah, thank you. So for Microsoft Copilot, here are the principles that you are usually advise to use, but you don't necessarily need them when you are working inside Excel or Word. But when you're working on the Microsoft Copilot chat itself, the standalone chat, then you'd need more of the principles. And the first one is you need to have a goal as to what you're looking to get from the particular use case that you're working on. What do you want Microsoft to exactly do for you? Then you need to provide context. Are you trying to plan for an upcoming meeting, or are you trying to plan for a webinar, or are you trying to plan to draft a memo within your organization? So you need to provide context of what you're trying to do. And next, you need to provide expectations with regards to the tone that you want Copilot to use. Are you writing a memo to a very non-technical team, and there's a need for you to break down certain technical terms? And lastly, you need to provide a source. Do you want it to get the information from the web? Do you want it to get it from your SharePoint? Do you want it to get the information from an uploaded document? So, like I said, this is much more applicable to you if you're using the Microsoft standalone chat assistant. So let's immediately look at how you can leverage Copilot within Excel. So if you look at the Copilot icon right here, so if you're activating the Excel from the cloud using this link over here, then you can immediately see your Copilot logo over here. And once you click on it, the Copilot chat pane pops up at the right side of your Excel sheet. At times, maybe, especially if you're working on the cloud, this logo might not come up, or it might come up and then it's not as bright as this. And that's to say there might be some malfunctions going on. All you need to do is to right click within your sheet. And once you right click, you see these options and you click on Copilot suggestions. And you can immediately use these options, the first 4 options. And if you want to activate the Copilot chat pane, all you need to do is click on this chat with Copilot, and it would work as fine as you clicking this as well if it's available. And you can immediately start interacting with whatsoever data that is on the sheet or the entire workbook. Or if you just want to access certain details from the web and you want it populated into your sheet, you can immediately start doing that. And with Copilot in Excel, you can easily import data. I'll show us how we can do that. You can easily import data. You can easily sort and filter your data. You can generate and understand formulas, or asking Copilot to explain certain formulas on a particular column or a number of columns within your Excel workbook. You can also use it to get insights from data. We are going to be doing a demo on that, and you can see how you can use the Copilot to get insights from your data. And you can also create charts, pivot tables, and lookups. So to learn more, I'll be providing this slide to you by the end of the webinar, and you can just click on the link over here to learn more. So like I said earlier on, once you activate your Copilot by clicking this or right-clicking and activating the Copilot chat pane, you can ask it to, for example, you're trying to work on a certain task and you have no well-rounded idea of what you want the columns to look like, what you want the rows to look like. You can immediately paste the prompt like this. For example, create a table for tracking task, and it can immediately generate something like this for you, and it can fill it up with sample data, and you can start to edit the data, or you can tweak it to add more columns or take away some columns from the sheet. So all you need to do is, based on whatever use case you're working on, you can simply just say, create a new table for your intended use case, suggest the most relevant columns, and fill it with sample data. You can also open and edit or chat with an existing Excel file. You can open it directly from your SharePoint. You can open it by accessing it from the cloud by going to excel.microsoft.copilot.com. So by opening it up, you can immediately start editing your document with Copilot, or you can chat to suggest the top 5 insights from whatever the data set is about, or you can ask it to summarize in plain English what the columns of the data set represent. You can also import data from the web or from your existing work. For example, you can say import verified metrics on AI adoption in Ireland, and you can click on this icon over here, and you would have these options of either getting the details from the web alone or from the web and including your work. So your work would be all your documents you've been working on or your SharePoint. So it can scan through those documents for details that are relevant to AI adoption metrics in Ireland, and it will populate it as a table into this plain sheet. You can also import files from your PC by clicking this upload icon or the plus icon, and you upload documents. It could be a Word document, it could be an image, it could be an Excel file, and interacting with it to populate details into a plain sheet or an existing sheet that you want to add more details into. And you can also upload from your work content as well that are on your PC or on the web, and immediately interact with it over here, rather than asking details from a large number of documents on your SharePoint. You can upload a particular document from your existing work and interact with them, and the details will be sent into your Excel sheet. So you are always advised, especially when you're using Copilot in the work scenario, that you should use the enterprise version, because when you use free versions of generative AI tools, your data might be used to train the AI model. So for you to know that your chat is secured, all you need to do is go to this icon over here, this green shield. So when you click on it, it turns full green shield, and it tells you that your enterprise data is protected. So you're always advised to use AI responsibly, not impute sensitive data, not impute your enterprise data into AI models or generative AI tools that are publicly available. To learn more, you can click on the link here when you get the slides. So so current limitations when it comes to the use of Microsoft Copilot. And the first limitation is, as always, AI generated outputs might be incorrect. There's a need to always review AI outputs to ensure that it's free from hallucination, it's free from bias, and that it aligns with the particular context you were trying to work on. And next, Copilot still struggles at times with smart arts, with tables and charts. So you might need to tweak over and over again for you to get your required output. And you also need to understand that there are certain limitations to the different languages that Copilot is familiar with. It still works best with English language, but for some that will be working with other languages, it has some limitations. And when it comes to using Copilot in general for summaries, there are certain limitations as well. So you're always advised to keep documents to 1.5 million words or less, or approximately 200 pages. And because longer documents might reduce the accuracy of the output. So for you to get the best out of longer documents, you're always advised to maybe break them down into these ranges of approximately 1.5 million words or 300 pages. And when it comes to rewrite task as well, maybe you're uploading a full Word document and you want Copilot to rewrite the entire 500 pages and all of that. There might be some, struggles with that. So you might need to break it down into approximately 3,000 words for different documents in order to be able to get the best output. So you can click on this link over here as well when you get the slide to learn more on these limitations. So here are some best practice for generative AI tools. Like I said earlier on, there's always a need to use generative AI responsibly. Use it as an assistant that you always have to review its output and responses before a final call. So first, as I've mentioned earlier on, do not impute sensitive or private data into free or publicly available generative AI tools. Use work-approved AI tools like certain organizations approve Microsoft Copilot for the employees. Some prefer Cloud, some prefer Gemini. So you're always advised to adhere to whatever AI policy that is existing within your organization, because the IT department must have put some checks or guardrails around these tools. So do not, take your work data and go impute them into some tools that are not approved by your organization. Next, there's always a need for a human in the loop. Always review generative AI outputs for bias, for hallucination, and also for alignment with regards to a particular context that you're working on. For example, I said you could ask Copilot to import key AI metrics on AI adoption in Ireland, and if you don't go through it, it might mistakenly go impute, metrics from some other countries in Africa or some other countries from America. So you need to always check for alignment as well. And lastly, there's always a need to cultivate AI awareness and upskilling, just like you're joining this webinar today to learn about Copilot in Excel. There's always a need to, attend more webinars, more trainings within your organization to stay abreast with new developments or new tricks that you could use to get the best out of generative AI tools. So now we'll be jumping straight into our demo session. And I have some synthetic data sets. I have some synthetic data set that I've put together to help us get the best out of this demo session. And I understand that we have different people coming from different sectors, different kind of businesses. So I've tried to put together this data set and these use cases to be relevant to almost everyone that are joining this webinar. So I'm just going to quickly show us a quick use case over here. So over here, so I'm doing this on the cloud. So I have gone to excel.cloud.microsoft. And I'm going to show you how you can draft a table in case you are in a particular scenario where you don't know what you want your table to look like, or you haven't figured out what you want your table to look like. So once you go to excel.cloud.microsoft, or you can do this on your PC as well if you don't want to do it on the cloud. So I'm just going to create a blank workbook. And we are going to activate Microsoft over here, Microsoft Copilot chat over here. But like I said, you can right click. So it's popping up. Yeah, so we have it over here. Holding. Yeah. So like I said, you can also right click and go to suggest Copilot suggestions, and you can click on chat with Copilot, and this pops up the same way it did when I clicked on this. And I said you can upload files from your PC, you can upload from your work content, or if you want to get details from the web, you can click on this icon and you have web and work. So you can switch this off, you can switch it on. So in this instance, I want you to get details from the web. I'm going to switch off work. I can just leave it on. So it doesn't matter for this particular quick use case I want to show to us. So I haven't figured out what I want my table to look like over here. So I'll paste in this prompt. Create a table for tracking tasks or to-dos. It should include work items, assignments, and deadlines. Suggest the most relevant columns, fill it with sample data so I can know how it works and start using it right away. So I can know, I mean, it's going to dictate that mistake anyway, but I'll just correct it so I can know how it works and start using it right away. So over here, it's going to generate a table that I can use to track task. Let's say I'm a project manager or I'm a team leader. I can immediately just generate this to use in tracking task of those that are under me. So just like it will take humans some time to put this up, it will take Microsoft a little bit of time as well, but much more faster than I would have had to do that manually on the sheet. So it's taking time to get that done. So while it's getting said, I'm going to start pulling up our core demos for today. So I just wanted to quickly show us this. This is not part of our core demo for today. So this is working on the cloud. The other data set I'll be using, I'll be getting them from my SharePoint, and it will be using the native Excel app that's on my laptop. So personally, I've had better experience using the Excel app on my laptop, which also has the Copilot features, than using it on the web. It kind of struggles at times when you're using it on the web. And I also need you to note that when you're trying to work on an Excel sheet and you want to use Copilot, you need to have it saved in the Excel format. If it's saved in CSV, Copilot wouldn't be able to help you edit it in real time. So you need to have it always saved in the Excel format rather than in the CSV. So we can see it's taking its time to carry out this task, and it's showing us some transparency and explainability as to the steps it's doing. So when it gives us the final output, it's going to outline much more steps that it has followed to execute this. And when it's out, you're going to see something similar to one of the pages I showed when we were going through the theoretical part of this demo. So still taking some time, and I'm going to, maybe we'll just jump into the other demo, and when it's out, I'll show it to us. So this is our first main data set that we're looking at today. So this data set contains service transactions, casework, orders, inspections, and work items that anyone from businesses or rather SMEs and public sector can relate to, and we'll be using this for our demo session. I think we have about 250 rows in this data set. And we have this column. So I'm going to go ahead and, so when you're using Copilot on your native Excel app on your laptop, you wouldn't see that Copilot icon most times if you don't have your bar yet pinned. So I'm going to click on Home over here, and I'm going to find the Copilot icon over here. And I'm going to activate the Copilot chat pane. And you can see how we can generate new columns within this. So let's quickly look at our previous. So it's okay. So now we have it done, and it has immediately generated a to-do tracker that I can use. So I had no idea what I wanted to look like. I've simply just given it the prompt and it has generated this for me. And all I need to do is to start tweaking it to my own use case. If I have a particular task ID I want to use different from this, what task do I want to see to do? What are the owners of the task? So you can see Joshua, Amina, and some other names. It has the priority column, it has the status, it has the start date, it has the due dates, and you can use the calendar to change it over here. It has the due date as well. It has the days left. So let's see if these days left changes when I change the date here. I don't think it did just now. So it changes from 2 to 7 over here. So you can edit the percentage as well. You can, edit this as well. You can ask it to add more columns for you or whatsoever details. So this is just how you can use Copilot to immediately draft a table. So that's it. I just wanted to quickly show us how you can draft a table within Excel. So over here, the first thing I want us to do is to ask what this data set is all about, and for it to briefly explain each column. I'm going to paste this prompt, briefly explain what this data set represents and what each column means. It might take some time as well, and I'll be getting our next prompt ready. So the next prompt will be providing. I'll be asking it to generate a new column called net_value_heroes, and that multiplies quantity by unit rates per hero and applies a discount percentage as well. So we can see that it's explaining what the data set is. This table is a work item or service transactions log. Each row is one recorded request or task, and it's tied to an account or customer, including dates, commercial terms, and service management fields, and so on. So this is an explanation of what each column represents: the record ID, the type of organization, the business units, the target turnaround time, and also the status of each of the items and the priority level. So in your own case as well, let's say a new data set has been entrusted to you and you're not sure of what the details is. All you need to do is ask Copilot to help you summarize or explain what the data set is all about. So this is going to be our next prompt. I'm asking Copilot to add a formula column called net_value_hero that multiplies quantity by unit rate and applies a discount percentage. So it's going to pick this quantity over here, multiply it by this, apply the discount rate here for the new column. So, and we can quickly verify the very first row to see if the response is accurate. Like I said, there's always a need for human review. So for me, the way I would review most times, I'll copy a particular document and duplicate it, and the same prompt I used on a particular document, I'll replicate it on the copy of the document to see if it gives me the same response. So that's my own way of most times trying to verify the response of generative AI outputs. So it's currently executing the task that we've given it. It's going to generate a new column by the side of this status column. While it's doing that, I would prepare one more prompt for this particular use case, and we'll move on to our next use case. So we can see Copilot has added the column over here. So if you pick your calculator right now and you multiply this quantity by this unit rate, you apply this discount rate. So for this first row, the discount percentage is 0%. So it doesn't do much here. So if you calculate, I'm very sure this is the answer you're going to get for the net value in euros. So all you need to do is, so you can see this kind of like rainbowish color around this column. That's showing you that this is a Copilot generated column. So it needs you to click on done and it becomes yours. So I'm clicking on done and you can see that the color aligns with the rest of the columns now. So we are going to ask it to explain this very column that it's just generated in plain English. Let me know if you need me to zoom my screen. I believe you can see it. So this is our new prompt. Explain the formula in the net value column in plain English. And just in your own use case as well, if there's a certain column in your workbook that you don't really understand, you can just ask Copilot to explain it to you in plain English. And you can see it has already explained it. So in plain English, it does this for each row. Start with base value, quantity times unit rate, and then apply the discount rate. So you can see over here, we had 0%. So if it was in this case, it should have been 1 minus 15%. That is 85. So it should have applied 85% to the quantity times unit rate to get the net value for this second row. So that's just it with working with formulas, trying to generate or understand formulas within your Microsoft Excel workflow. So we'll be going to our second data set. So I've prepared 4 different data sets just to ensure that the different set of persons on the webinar can relate to the different use cases in one way or the other. So we have a data set where what we want to do is to clean up the data. So in certain instances, if you open an Excel workbook and there are immediately some, disarrayed content, maybe some are in uppercase, some are in lowercase, Microsoft Copilot would immediately pop up and telling you that it has some suggestions for you to clean up your data set. But because I had already, so the initial time I opened this, I canceled it from doing that. That's why it's not popping up this time. So if you look at this data set, you would see, if you glance through, you see over here, the procurement hub is in uppercase. Over here, we have the first letters in uppercase. So they are all not in alignment in terms of being clean. And over here, you can see some are true, some are yes, some are just Y, and some are N. So we are going to activate Copilot again. I will try to clean this up. So this particular data set contains data about inbound requests or help desk records with inconsistent entries across channels like phone calls, emails, and so on, and also details of different categories, the dates, and the status. So we can also just quickly ask for an explanation of what the data set is. And then we'll start to clean it up. I'm just going to paste the prompts into the chat. Briefly explain what this data set represents and what each column means. So you can see it's immediately explaining. I'm going to get our second prompt that we're going to use to clean the data set. So you can see that's explained what each column represents: the request ID, organization name, organization type, resolution code, the notes flag, and the category, the subcategory, submitted date. So now let's clean it so that we have a uniform case for all the details. So I say clean this table and standardize capitalization, spacing, date format, region values, channel values, priority values, and status values. So in this case, we are working with about 300 rows. Yeah, 200 rows. That's what we're working with over here. So I initially wanted to use about 1,500 rows, but because it's going to take a lot of time doing that on the live demo, I had to reduce it to 300 rows. So let's see what it does. And while that is going on, so you would immediately start seeing changes on the workbook once it begins to effect. So it needs some further clarification from me. So for this, number one, it's asking me which format should it use. I should pick either option 1, option 2, option 3, or option 4. So I'll just randomly pick, I'll pick option 1. So all I need to do is write 1. Option 2, I'll pick number 2 for this number 2. Then for 3, I'll pick Northwest. So number 3, it's asking if it should use North, South, East, West, Central, capital HQ, and expand abbreviations like N to North and CTR to Central. So I'm going to go for 1 as well. And I think we're good to go. So it's suggesting to respond with 1-to-1 or whatever preference you want. So I was going to go for 1-to-1 anyways. So let's see what happens in terms of the cleaning of this data set. While that is going on, I'll get ready our next prompt and we move to the next use case. So the next prompt we'll be using when this is done is resorting a particular column in the table or sorting the table based on a particular column. So I'll be asking it to sort the table by resolution days from highest to lowest. So we'll be sorting the table out based on this column. So let's wait and see the cleaning it's going to do on this table. So it's not usually instant when you're just chatting to ask for very instant details, or you're just like maybe when you're chatting with ChatGPT or Copilot chat, and within a minute or within seconds, you already have your response. But because in this instance, it actually needs to study your content and go through it and effect the changes. It might take at times 2 minutes, at times about 3-5 minutes to effect the changes. So it's still loading, and I'll prepare our next use case where we want to see trends in a particular data set. So I've been picking this data set from my SharePoint. So all you need to do is go to your SharePoint, and for you to be able to use Copilot effectively or to even use it at all on a particular Excel file, you need to have it on autosave. You need to have it on autosave for you to be able to do that. So next, it's okay. So we have the changes up already. So you can immediately see that it has highlighted the content in this rainbowish colors that's familiar or that's close to the color of the Copilot icon. So you can immediately see that it has standardized the contents. They are all in a uniform case, and it's asking me, so it's still loading anyways, it's not done. So when it's done, it might ask me to click on done. So these colors disappear when I click on done. So these are the steps it's followed in cleaning this data set. It had to go through 7 steps, and these are the details. So this is the explainability of what it did to be able to effect this. So you can always review this to ensure that it aligns with what you actually wanted it to do. So all I need to do now is click on done. But like I said, AI generated contents are not always accurate. If you go through, you might find some mistakes. Like, yeah, you can see some issues here. We had 3 here, but it's writing 3 here. So you can ask it that it should affect, this part that you left out. So we can say, but okay, let's just quickly try that. There is an issue. It's with the satisfaction score volume. So let's try to see if it can fix this on time. Because I need to move on to other use cases. So it's asking how should it standardize it. So convert to numeric, keep as test. I'm just going to go with option 1. Convert to numeric. And it shouldn't take as much time as it took in effecting the changes on the whole workbook. So because it's working on just a particular column this time, so it's going to change this 3 to numeric, and this not applicable. It's going to use blanks. It's going to use a blank filler instead. But for the rest, like the rest of the numbers that were written in words, it's going to convert them to numbers. So there's just one more point I want to showcase to us on this. But while this is okay, so it's up already. We can see that it's converted all the words to numbers, and where it was non-applicable, it's just left it blank. So still loading, and when it's done, would impute the last prompt for this particular use case, and I'll pull up the next data set. Yeah, we just want to see the trends in the data set. So this is the one for the trends. I'll leave it off at the moment. So yeah, it's still fixing it up. So it's done. Once I click on done, the highlight disappears. So there are some other things that, in your own case, you might want to correct, just like this. I don't know, there's some discrepancies here. You can ask it to effect it as well. So let's just ask it to sort the table by the resolution days from highest to lowest. So it's going to sort the table based on resolution days over here from highest to lowest. So while it's doing that, so our next data set is based on a monthly operational performance for multiple units over time, covering demand, completions, turnaround, backlogs, satisfaction, cost, and I think absence as well. So we'll come back to this because of time. I'm going to bring up the third data set over here. So this data sets might not exactly be relatable to everyone, but it's just to show you what you can do based on your own use case. How you can clean, how you can impute new columns based on certain formula, how you can understand trends or insights in your data set, how you can generate charts. So we're just going to have activated the chart over here. Enterprise data protection applies. We have it on auto. You can change it to GPT-2. Yeah, so I didn't get to mention that Copilot chat is powered by OpenAI's GPTs. So you can leave it on auto or you can click on GPT 5.2. So I'm just going to ask it straight away to summarize the main trends. Yeah, I think someone is raising their hands. I'm not sure why. So I'm just going to ask, summarize the main trends in demand, backlog, turnaround, and satisfaction over time. You can expand your chart pane if you want it bigger. Okay. Suraj, I hope the echo is gone now. I hope I'm not echoing anymore.
No, Joshua, you are fine.
Okay. So this is still loading. I'll just quickly have a look at the previous. So this is still loading as well. But we can see that it's already started sorting it out by resolution days. So we have the highest resolution days of 12 at the top, and we have the lowest at the bottom, which is 0. So I think we are fine with this. All it needs to do at the end is to ask me to click on done, and that's it. So we can focus on the next one, which is this. So we are trying to summarize, we are asking Copilot chat to summarize the main trends in demand and the rest of them in this data set. So we have the month, we have the organization type, business and public sector. We have the operational units, we have the region from south, east, west, central. So like I said, this is a synthetic data set. I used ChatGPT, the paid version, enterprise version, to generate all of these data sets. So all I need to do is give it details of what I want to be contained in each data set, and then I generate it. So I don't need to teach you how to generate a synthetic data set in this case, because in your own use case, you'll be using actual data sets of whatever workflow you're currently working on in your organization. But like I said, do not use free generative AI tools, or do not use tools that are not approved by your organization. Every organization should have its own AI policy, and every employee are always advised to adhere to these AI policies within your organization. So this is still taking some time to load because it's carrying out actual task behind the scene, and it's going to show us the steps it's taking to do this anyways. So we have a few minutes to go. I'm just going to pull up the last demo to show us how you can generate charts in your data set. So this is the last one. So over here, we just want to see how you can generate charts. The other one is still loading. So before we go back to that, let's have this running as well. So this data set as well is containing details about, is this the one? Okay, yeah. So this data set as well is containing details about detailed multi-segment activity records across services, regions, channels, and organization type. So we have the column that says the kind of organization, the region within. So it's kind of like simulating that this is an island. That's why you could see Midlands, North, Coastal, because I tried to simulate the synthetic data set to be relatable to PSOs or businesses in Ireland. That's why you'd find some familiar terms with Ireland. And we have the column for the service line and the like. So I'm going to activate Copilot. Start with Copilot. Going to expand the chat pane a bit. And I'm going to paste this prompt. So I'm going to ask you to create a chart comparing total value by month for each organization type. So let's ask it to put that in another sheet instead of imputing it on this existing one. So in another, so we have that running, and let's go and look at our previous data set. So we've asked it to summarize the main trends in demand, backlog, turnaround, and satisfaction over time. And here's a summary of the main trends. Like I said, one way I would usually verify AI output is for me to duplicate this particular file, open it in another tab or window, and copy the same prompts and impute it. And if it gives me similar response to this, then I would believe it's accurate. But if I find some discrepancies, then that gets me to be suspicious, and you might have to run it a number of times. If you have a number of similarities, then you might have to jump in yourself and have to scan through to do your due diligence. So one way I would verify is to replicate this scenario. So I'm just going to click on done, and I can. So this was the one where we asked for summary. We were trying to see the trends in the data set. We can impute one more prompts into that. And if you happen to be lost while I'm jumping around because of the delay in the response, I'm having to jump around to ensure that, we are engaged. But if you happen to have any issues, you can reach out to me directly. I can put you through if you happen to be lost anywhere while doing this. So let's impute one more prompt into this, and we'll go back to see we'll go back to see the last use case where we are trying to generate a chart. So over here, I'm asking you to identify outlier months or units in demand volume, average turnaround hours, backlog end month, and satisfaction percentage. So let's have this running, and let's go and see what we have here. So it's already active. So we only had one sheet in this workbook. Now it's activated another one and it's trying to impute the chart. So we can see we have a chart already based on the instruction we gave. It's still working on it. We can see Copilot is effecting the instruction in this new sheet that I asked it to use. So I'm not familiar with Excel. So if you wanted to use some other type of chart, all you need to do is impute the prompt and ask it to change this to some other type of chart that you would want. I would input one other prompt into this as well, and we go back to see the outlier one. I'm going to ask it to create a pivot table showing total value and direct cost by organization type and service family. So I'm not sure what it wants me to do here, but I'm just going to cancel this. Yeah, so done. And we are good to go for this. So I'm going to ask it to do this as well in a third sheet. So we're asking it to create a pivot table showing total value and direct cost by organization type and service family in a third sheet. So it's going to do that by imputing a third sheet. And let's go look at the one where we asked for the outlier. So it wants me to, so it's asking for quick clarifications if I want either of these options. And for number 2, what level should I detect outliers at? So I'm just going to randomly pick over here, I'll just pick 1. Over here, I'll just pick 2. And for the last one, the direction, I'll pick 2 as well. We can look at our next. So we can look at the last data set. So we can see over here, it's activated the third sheet inside the workbook, and it's created a pivot table, although it's still working on it. So this is just how, you can walk around with Copilot inside your Excel. I mean, I believe every individual on this call have their own different pain points. So all you need to do is just in plain English, just impute it into the chat and continue to tweak as you deem fit. And you would see that you're improving your productivity. So it's still making adjustments to this pivot table over here. And in your own case, if you're not pleased with what you're saying, you can further ask it to, so we can see the step it's followed inside the chat pane in effecting this pivot table. So I've clicked on done, and now we have our pivot table. Yeah. So let's just go back in and look at the third use case and see if it's done now. And we round up. So it's still loading anyways, because it asks for a clarification. It's still loading, so we can just go ahead to our Q&A and we'll come back to. So yeah, our key takeaways. So I believe you can now see that Copilot is a powerful assistant within your Excel workflows that you can immediately use to cut the time you would usually spend in trying to generate formulas, trying to generate charts. Next, there's always a need for human oversight and overview when you're using generative AI tools. You always need to verify responses to ensure that it aligns with the particular task you wanted it to carry out and that you're adhering to the AI policy within your business or your organization. Next, you need to use approved generative AI tools within your organization to ensure that you are not leaking out your organizational data or client data to AI models that could use your data to train itself. Next, you'll be getting an access to recording of this webinar on YouTube. I'll be sending it to you and you can go through it. And if you have any feedback or whatever, you can reach out to me. And lastly, I'll be sending you a prompt pack that contains over 30 to 50 prompts that you can use within Copilot to improve your productivity. I'll be sending that as well within the next few days. So, you can immediately improve your productivity. So we're just going to go into our Q&A session. But just before we do that, I'm just going to activate the poll to get your feedback on this webinar in order to help us improve our subsequent webinars. So your feedback would be very much appreciated. If you can please just take a minute to fill it. So Suraj, are there any questions you would need me to answer?
No, Josh, all of them have been answered.
Okay. So let's just come back to this, the last one. I mean, it's still taking its time to load. So anyway, if we have no further questions, well, I believe you've been inspired today in this webinar, and I believe that the use cases are good enough for you to immediately jump into your Excel workflows and begin to use Microsoft Copilot. So I believe some persons here might not have access to the Copilot. You might be trying to, find the icon in your Excel app and you can't find it. So that means your organization is probably not subscribed to the full package that offers Microsoft Copilot within your Microsoft apps, and you might need to contact your IT department. There's some organizations whereby some teams or some departments have Copilot chats and some don't have it because they think you might not necessarily need it. But if you think you need it, you can speak to your IT department and you can make your case as to why you need Copilot chats within your Excel, your Word, your PowerPoint, your Outlook as well, in order to boost your productivity. And if you missed the previous webinar we did on Microsoft Copilot in the Microsoft Word application, you can go to our YouTube page. You can find it over there. And our next webinar will be focusing on how you can work smarter with Copilot in PowerPoint. So just keep an eye on our LinkedIn page and you'll see details on how you can sign up for that. So this was the last prompt we were waiting for to identify the outliers. And we can see over here representation of the outliers from this data set. You can see the demand volume, low outliers. You can see the month. So there were no outliers, no low outliers in the months. Over here, we have the average turnaround hours, low outliers. There were no low outliers for the month because it's not applicable. You can see the backlog over here as well. We can see the satisfaction, and we can see the months, the operational unit, the region, the channel, the organization type. They were all businesses. You can see the satisfaction percentages. So yeah, this is just, a few things you can do with your Copilot in Excel. Like I said, I'll be sending us a prompt pack and you'd see much more prompts that you can use that would be very relatable to your own use case. Once again, thank you for joining this webinar today. I hope you've been inspired and we look forward to seeing you on our next webinar, and do enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, Suraj, for your time. I hope all the questions have been attended to. So thank you very much.
Yes, Joshua. Thanks, everyone. Thanks.